What up, YouTube? It's your boy Joe with Meteoric Serpents coming back at you for episode number 4 of the Colubrid Corruption Podcast. Tonight, we are having on Sky from Hail the Scales for episode 4. So it's going to be a fun episode. We're going to talk about a bunch of different species, and it's going to be great. While everyone's here, man, make sure you like this podcast. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell. When you hit that, make sure you're tuned into every single podcast I drop, and all videos and shorts and other pieces of content. Other than that, you could see below me, I have all my social medias there. Go follow me on everything. I have some snakes available on Morph Market as well. Go check out Meteoric Serpents. That will be great. I have a few snakes on there. And also next week, I am vending at the Orlando Repticon. I'll have a few animals there. Not too much. A lot of my display Texas rat snakes are in brumation. So not a whole lot, just a small display. But I really wanted to talk to, some other people other than South Floridians. So it's going to be fun. I will be vending with Paul from For Real 3D and Alvaro from Clover's Reptiles, who was on last week. So we'll be at that table together. If any locals want to come out, come check us out. And then also I had plugged it last week, but just want to give a plug again. I tried feeding again. Blake's Exotic Feeders. I got some quail from him for my colubrids. Great stuff. I really like the guy. It was nice to meet him. If you're in South Florida, in this general area, or even if you're not from this area, you can order frozen thawed quail. And, if you hit him up, just tell him Joe from Meteoric Serpent sent you. Also want to give a shout out everyone who wished me a happy birthday this weekend. I really appreciate it. I turned 23 yesterday. Everyone makes jokes that I'm younger because I know I look younger, but yes, it was great. This mic from my girlfriend. Thank you so much, Victoria. It's awesome. Hope you all think I sound good. And then Lil Bro got me Meteoric Serpent's hat. I think that was pretty cool. I'll be wearing that at shows, so make sure you come check it out. All right, and let's see who's in the chat tonight. We got North Star Mike. What up, man? Thanks for checking it out. Bosa, Sultan of Support. Thank you, bro. Brian from Heath and Hatchery. What's up, dude? Ryan, Morph Valley Reptiles. Thanks for being here. Eric's Morph Factory, my guy. Hope you're doing well. Jason, how you doing, man? Good to see you here. Thank you. Let's see. I saw some other people. Wiz, my dog. What's going on, man? Hope you're doing well. Cuzzo, Ricky. Hope you're doing good. Let's see. I saw a couple other people. Don D, what's up? I actually saw you comment in the chat first. Way early today. I don't know if this is the chat that was there, but thanks for being here, Don. I appreciate it. Brock from his wrong account, as always. There he is. All right. Thanks, Brock. What up, Dan? Vision Quest Reptiles. I was actually thinking about wearing your jersey because you're going to be a new breeder on the block tomorrow. But my bad, dude. I forgot to put it on. Let's see. Exotic World of Geckos, thank you for being here. All right, guys, let's get into it. Don't want to hold them up for too long. As always, before I bring them out here, if you have any questions for Sky, make sure you drop them in the chat. I'm going to be watching, obviously, and we can get those chats on there, and he can answer your questions. So without further ado, please help me welcome Sky from Hail the Scales. What's up, man?
What is up, everyone? How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for being here. Episode 4. We're going to be talking about some cool colubrid species today. We may be settling the horned snake debate because there you go. So you're wearing the Rhino Rat shirt.
Yeah, I gave you guys every bit of support you need. So I'm repping your team, even though I know my team's going to win. It's I feel bad for y'all. So I'm giving all the support I can.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. So please, man, tell me. We were talking a little bit backstage. I don't know a whole lot about you at all. Billy referred me to you, so this is really the first time we're talking. So this is a super organic conversation. But I really want to know a little bit more about you, your kind of background. Tell the people where you're at in the country, and just how you got into reptiles in general, please.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I know we said all week we were going to kind of save it for the show, so we didn't
Yeah.
spoil anything. But yeah. So obviously, you guys know I'm Sky from Hail the Scales. I've been a reptile kid since I was a baby. My mom, when I was born, she had iguanas and Asian water dragons. So that was what I grew up with as a toddler. And then when I was old enough, I started getting every toad and salamander and tarantula and every gopher and king snake and alligator lizard and fence lizard you could catch out in California. I always just kept those in little naturalistic terrariums and stuff that my dad and grandpa helped me build. So did all that as a kid. And then through my high school years, I kind of just, got away from it a little bit. And then around like 22, 23, I got back into it. I had some friends. They got some chameleons and one of them ended up dropping some babies. It was a Jackson chameleon. And that kind of just re-sparked it for me. They ended up letting me get one of the babies. So I raised that thing up and that was just a waterfall effect for me to get back into reptiles. And I started getting deep back into the chameleons, started getting a few more snakes. And then that was just lighting more fires. So I had like the Noah's Ark collection going for a couple of years and then really like got introduced to the reptile hobby out here in Florida, started meeting new people. And that was basically when I met Billy Hunt and just a
Okay.
bunch of other good dudes that were freaking awesome enough to accept me into the hobby and, make me feel like I've been friends with them forever and just taught me so much more about reptiles in the hobby than I ever thought I knew. So it's been the last 5 to 6 years have been freaking the best years of my hobby life with the reptiles ever. And I've learned so much. I've learned leaps and bounds of knowledge. It's unreal. And I couldn't be more
Yeah.
thankful for it. So it's been an awesome ride the last couple of years, but basically my whole life I've always had animals in my life, between exotic birds to exotic furries to dog breeding to snake.
Yeah.
It's my whole life. It's all I've ever been dedicated to. So kind of hard to get away from
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. And so you said you grew up in California, and you also said something that a lot of people don't see. Your mom was into it. So she was very supportive of your
Oh yeah.
animal addiction at a young age.
Oh yeah. She still is a main supporter.
Awesome.
She was the creator of the Hail the Scales logo. Her and my
Oh,
cousin.
really?
Yeah. So that was a birthday present for me. Once I started really getting back into reptiles, she hooked me up with that. So I've been repping it. But yeah, she got me into it, and then it's definitely in the blood. And my family's always been a supporter of it. I grew up watching Steve Irwin and the
Okay.
Corwins or Jeff Corwin and the Crap Brothers and all that. And I mean, just Nat Geo everything. So it's just, like I said, I've been almost impossible to get away from animals for me. So my
Yeah.
nickname since I was a kid has been Bugsy, because since I was a toddler, I was literally face down in the dirt, flipping over any rock and thing you could find to get any bug or whatever there was. So yeah,
Right.
it's definitely deeply rooted at this point.
Well, that's awesome that you were able to kind of have that experience, because I think that's kind of an opposite of what other people get. And I mean, I could say it if my mom's watching. My mom definitely, she allowed it when I had like one snake and then it became two and three. Like, she allowed it. She didn't particularly like it. And now here I am with like 40 snakes in the garage, and I still don't think she loves it, but she's even came to a couple of the shows I've vended, so she's being supportive, and she appreciates my passion for the animals.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she
you
sees the
know
passion, and she doesn't want to you're not out doing anything bad. You're
yeah.
trying to mess with animals and wildlife and do something right by yourself. So
Right. Right.
that's good on her for supporting you.
Definitely. So now you are down here in Florida, and where exactly at?
Yeah, so I'm in like Central Florida. I'm like 20, 30 minutes north of Tampa.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm kind of just in the middle of nowhere in a small town, really. So
Gotcha.
I tell people where I live, and they're like, "Where?" I'm like, "It's middle of nowhere, man. There's like a couple of street lights and a couple of freaking 2-lane roads. That's about it. So
Yeah.
I can't
I
complain. the development's coming in heavy, but I can't complain for now.
Gotcha. And now you are how old? Because you look pretty young. And I said the same thing to Billy, and then he surprised me with his age. So
Yeah, I actually
how
just
old are?
turned 29 on Thanksgiving, so
All right, awesome.
yeah.
Happy late birthday.
Yeah, happy belated birthday to you, man. I just heard it was your
Thank you.
birthday in the intro. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's awesome. So this started when you were a little kid. You're about 29. So you've really been in this for a very long time. And now, what would you consider to be your kind of like, I've been seeing it on Instagram, but like, what's your bread and butter, would you say, in terms of species and what you keep? And then,
Yeah, I mean I would say my collection is like partial dreams obtained, and then what I could get that's obtainable with my money, not because I with my budget basically.
right.
I always there's the dream pinnacle stuff that I want to work with, but this is like what I can work with that's top level for me right now, and that's a decent group of varanids, the barons. I got a good group of barons, and then the pop one carpet pythons, and then a few little just random couple. I got a couple of green tree pythons, a couple of random king snakes, and then the Vietnamese blue beauties. So
Nice.
just a kind of couple little things, but kind of just keep it oriented with those three main projects, one in the colubrids, one in the pythons, and then one in the lizards, to kind of tick all my little boxes that I have inside of me.
Awesome. And then, yeah, so you said you started with a bunch of different species. And then when you started becoming serious, what was that first thing that you were like, I need to have that?
Yeah, so like what like flipped the switch for me was I started listening to a lot of reptile podcasts, believe it or not,
Yeah.
and just hearing all the older guys talk about, being my age and then being their age now, and what they could do if they went back to my age to restart. And all of them basically said the same thing in their own words, and that would be find something that they love, that they don't care if they make money off of it, that they just want to walk in their room and see it and be excited about it every day. And that's
Yeah.
what they kept. So I basically was in my mind and was like, all right, well, I've been a carpet python fan since I was 4 years old, because that's one of the main things Steve Irwin loved to show in his videos.
Right.
So it was like, went down the carpet python rabbit hole, found the lane in that I liked the most. And it took me like 2 or 3 years to build up the collection that I have now of those. And I just kind of once I learned about it, and you learn more and you start digging, and you learn the carpet python stuff is all based on lineage and different pattern looks and color looks. So it's like
Gotcha.
an endless rabbit hole with that. And then once I got that done, I was like, all right, what's like the colubrid snake that I really love, that ticks the box for me, that I'm excited about? And I had an opportunity to get a Barons racer, and I've always thought they were super cool. My younger brother's a huge fan of them. So I was like, had the opportunity to get one, and I got one, and it was like freaking sent down another rabbit hole. And those things, those are like, for me, those are really like a lizard in a snake's body with how they act and their behaviors and everything. So I tell that to a lot of people, and they laugh, and then I'll show them videos and examples. And I have a video deep in my freaking memory log of videos, but my monitor cruises around the reptile room. And back when I had a couple of my barons in the room, the barons and the monitor were mirroring each other, like almost for tongue flick, for like going up and down. The lizard was tripoding, the snake was going up. Like, it was just so cool to see them mirror each other, and like they were acting at the same beat. It was so cool. And I was just like, man, those things they're linked right there. It was freaking awesome for me. But yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, they're super cool. And then the lizards, I've just always been a lizard freak. So varanids they drive me nuts. Peach throats are my thing. Yeah.
Awesome. And just a comment about the carpets. One of my local buddies actually has a snake from you. I've gotten to see it before. Papuan. Ryan from Royal Addiction.
Okay.
Ryan O'Neill.
Okay. Yeah.
He lives right by me, so I've seen your snake before that you produced.
Very nice. That one's actually produced by my buddy. That one was produced by Longleaf Reptilia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm actually getting
from a baby.
I'm getting Jake on the show soon as well.
Yeah, he told me. I told him that I was coming on today, and he was like, "Oh, cool." I'm going on right after you, bro. This sucks. It's like, you want to trade spots? Like, you can go first. We'll swap. I don't know.
Billy's been sending people my way, which I very much appreciate. But yeah, so that's awesome. And then just like with the colubrid, so that was an interesting species to kind of get yourself started with. When did you start hearing about barons? Because I don't even think I knew they existed until, I'm not going to say like recently, but like maybe the last couple of years or so. Like I just didn't know they were really a thing
Yeah.
that much.
I want to say the first time I seen him was either in a book or on a show or a National Geographic or something that I saw on TV or a movie. And then I remember me and my brother had just known about him through, it had to have been either the internet or a book that we've seen pictures of it or something. And he was fascinated by it. He ended up writing a paper on them in school. I mean, like,
Oh wow.
he loved Barron's racers. So like I kind of knew about them because of him and because we'd seen him just in like a books or a show before. And then once I got older and then was like, oh dude, what the hell? There's an opportunity to get a Barron's racer. Let me get that thing so I can actually experience it. And once I did, I was like, oh, this is end game right here, man. These things are a completely different level than any other snake I've ever experienced. So, I mean, they're really,
Cool.
they're a lot different than people give them credit for, at least.
Yeah. And now I also want to go in for people that want to know, like, what's husbandry like? Can you go over how you kind of have them set up and just general keeping things about them?
Yeah, yeah. So I've heard people keep them different ways. I've heard some people will burmate theirs and stuff, and I've heard people not burmating them, and both ways get successful clutches and everything. Um, I kind of base all of my keeping off of what information I can find off like not a care sheet. So like
Right.
other viewing stuff in South America, seeing the region they come from, finding out what I can find about their region and trying to mimic the best I can with what I got. And I keep mine basically neotropical natural with the Florida temperature and how my room
Yeah.
runs. And I run in both my rooms on ambient with supplemental heat or supplemental cooling, depending on the time of year. They majorly stay between the mid 70s to low 70s at the lowest, and
Okay.
they heat up to like 85, 86 for a couple hours out of the day, and then cool back down back into the night. So they just kind of have like a natural day of fluctuation. And then during the summertime, obviously the ambient's a little bit higher, but right now the room's getting down to like the low 70s at night and stuff. But people are
Gotcha.
bird mating them low because in the wild they do exist in areas where it gets super freaking cold at night, and then during the day it gets like 103, 105 degrees. So they're a super hardy species that has a wide variety of weather patterns where they occur naturally. So they're super
Right.
hardy species, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's becoming a lot more apparent when I'm talking to a bunch of different people now about certain colubrid species. Is just not, I don't want to say how much they can take, but it's just like, in the wild, they go through some of this stuff. So it's almost like, people strive to like dial in these things, like dial in their thermostats and keep it at this certain temperature all freaking year round. But here I am also in Florida and we have that luxury. So don't get me wrong, chat. We kind of have the luxury of being allowed to kind of go ambient, but I'm seeing that even my snakes, my pythons are able to handle this range of kind of temperatures matching what's going on outside. So I think people take that for granted, or like they're just super
Locked
like
in. It's just you get
yeah,
into a box
I
and
have to
you
hit
think you have
this
to. Yeah.
temperature and do it.
Yeah.
Like I talk about it. Even my ball pythons, I don't keep them hot. I know, you hear some people talk about how they need to be 88 to 90 degrees. I don't keep them anywhere near that.
Yeah.
My room stays low 80s, high 70s, and on a couple of my adults, I actually keep a thermostat on, but it doesn't really click on that much. It's set at 80 just in case.
Okay. Yeah. That's not bad at all. I
Yeah.
basically do the same with mine. I just let the weather do its thing, and then if it gets too hot, AC kicks on, and if it gets too cold, the heat will kick on for a couple hours, and then other than that, I've been running these snakes like this for a few years now, and knock on wood, I haven't had any health issues or any problems
Yep.
with digestion or shed or anything. So it's been pretty rock solid and a lot easier than trying to have 50 different heat and light elements on everyone's cage. So
Gotcha. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I 100% agree. And then now you had mentioned so the Barons races, those are from South America. Do you know exactly like what kind of range they come from?
Yeah, they kind of run from like Chile to God, I don't want to say the range wrong because I don't know South America's
Yeah.
states like that. I can pull it up really quick because I have it like right here. But it's they have a pretty wide range, and that's kind of where their color variation comes in, is like the different
Okay.
localities of where they're at, and like the different landscape change is kind of throws in where their color variation comes in.
Gotcha. So you were leading me into my next question because I was very curious about the color variation, and I wanted to know if that had to do with locale or if that was random mutation or not, as we've been, breeding them in captivity for a bit.
Yeah, I have a lot of conflicting thoughts and opinions on all of that compared to a lot of other keepers and breeders and other people, but it seems like all of their evidence and what they're basing everything off of is kind of, I don't want to say doesn't really make sense, but I feel like they're pulling, like how you're saying we have this box that we have to tick. I feel like their brains in this bald python box or this genetic box, and they're just bringing Baronite into that. When I see
Okay.
them more as green tree pythons and locality mixing like that, and getting designer colors and different looks that way, because you're crossing a
Gotcha.
locality rather than crossing just a color in the same area, if that makes any
Right.
sense.
No, I
So
gotcha. And I listened to a podcast that Nick Mudden was on recently talking about. He was talking about a lot of carpets and green trees as well, and talking about kind of that stuff, and even mentioning how like yellow neos are recessive 100%, and that's the only way that makes sense.
yeah,
Um, so you think there's something aligned with these guys as well when it comes to breeding and colors?
I have a bunch of different color variations to figure that out. So it's obviously going to take some time, but it seems like what people have bred, and when you mix colors, and then when you do kind of have like a solid lineage idea of what you do have, it kind of seems like you can get a consistent idea of what's going to pop out if you know what you've bred before, like if you have the
Okay,
lineage to go behind it. But I feel like people also will just get a random animal, breed it to say they get a green, they don't know the lineage of it, they'll breed it to another green, and then say a couple blue babies pop out, and then they get this whole idea of whatever they think about it, and then go
okay,
from there. And oh, it's a het this or a het that, when in all reality, it just had the lineage of its grandparent. It was blue, so it has blue blood in its lineage, and it's popping back
gotcha,
up. So it's like, I don't know. It says that they're ranging from Bolivia all the way down to northern Argentina, basically. So they have a pretty big
okay,
range, and it seems like they span almost all the way across, like this whole center range of South America. So they have a pretty big range, and it seems like they go like the more deserty areas where you get the browns, and then either the high, I can't remember if it was the higher northern elevation is the greens, and then the lower elevation is the blues, but
okay.
definitely me and some friends have been talking about making a trip to South America one day, so we can go see these things in the wild and see what else we can figure out about them,
Yeah,
because it doesn't
that
seem
would
like
be
there's a
awesome.
lot known at all.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot missing about a lot of different colubrid species. I actually have to read Zach Loafman's book still, because I know the barons are included in there.
Yeah.
They're on the cover at least, so I need to really dive in. But I flipped through the book. I'm like, oh, this is a little daunting. So I'm gonna have to get to that eventually.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do the same. I haven't had a chance as well, but I definitely need to check out the Baron section,
Yep.
see what he's thinking.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So you have all the color faces. So there's green, brown, blue, and is there like a yellowish one, or is it just those three kind of?
So like the three main colors that everyone says and sees is the browns, the blues, and the greens. But That's what I'm trying to work out, because I have two that are extremely teal, and when you put them next to my other green ones, they don't look like greens at all. And then I
Yeah.
have two yellow ones that when you put them next to greens, you can't say that they're a green, especially if you can say a yellow tree monitor is yellow when a
Right.
green tree monitor is not far off from the same green. So
Yeah.
I feel like if people are going to go apples to apples with me on what I'm seeing and what I'm calling stuff, I'll bring up as much ammunition as I need to, because there's a lot of other evidence in the hobby with a bunch of other different species with not very solid colors, and we're making color variants out of it. So there's
Right.
definitely yellows. I've talked to a couple older people that said back in the day that they had heard and seen of yellows and saw some like striking patternless yellows. And the two I have are super heavy melanin. So we're also trying to prove out an IMG line,
Okay.
because I also had a baby that looked completely normal when it was a baby, and then after you're a year old, it's just slowly with every shed becoming covered in black. So
Interesting.
and there is a couple black fully melanistic barons that are out there, and then there's also ones that are like 3/4 of the way up solid black, and then just the first third or first quarter or first third has color. So
Oh,
there's a
interesting.
lot going on out there, and I think a lot of that has to play with people crossing localities and then crossing them back without knowing what their full lineage is. So I think it's just a big game of, you got to have each color, you got to breed each lane, and then cross them up, and then track it all, and then see what happens, because I don't think anyone's done it that deep, and if they have, they're not giving out all information, and if they are, I haven't seen it yet. So
Yeah. No, and I think that's what's so awesome about, being passionate about some of these species, cuz it gives you so much room, cuz like if you really love it, like I think you should go full force with that, because you could discover something amazing with this species. I mean, I think that's how I kind of feel like with the Texas rats, like me and Kevin when we worked together, like we did that joint pairing this season, and just, kind of talking about all these projects and what we can do. And it's just interesting to think about where the ones that are kind of pushing the different genetic combos, and like, sometimes it's not always like the scientists or some big name people, like the little guys can
yeah,
kind of make that impact on the species or the hobby in
it's the
itself.
passion that drives the force, man. So I mean, we all we got to do, if you're like you said, if you got the passion behind it and you dedicate yourself to it, who knows what boxes you're gonna, open up and find out about. So
Yeah. And now, have you actually bred the barons yet?
I'm waiting on one of my females to drop a clutch right now. So other than that,
Okay.
I just bought a couple of clutches, or like bunch of babies, and bought a clutch from a buddy that's local around here and stuff, and established those just to get some experience under my belt and stuff. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And then what does breeding for them look like? Is it same kind of seasons? Like, is it seasonally like a lot of other colubrids, or?
Yeah, so from what I've taken from other breeders, is they usually like have like a spring and a fall kind of season, and they will double clutch. And I a lot of people either get like around the August, September, October range kind of, and then they'll kind of get it in like the spring months of like April, May, March. So I don't really know. I also think it's about where you're at in the country and how you're running your room, and if
Right.
you are burr mating them or if you're not, because like mine were, I kind of just wasn't really, I was planning on putting some together, and me and my other friend were planning on doing some combo pairings so we could progress those lines that we're trying to prove out. And some stuff went sour on his end, so we couldn't end up making it happen. So I was like, all right, well,
Okay.
my males are all of a sudden acting really funny, and they're going off food, and my females been just extremely aggressive and slamming food like really
Yeah.
crazy. So I threw them together, and I mean, under 2 minutes they were already locked up. And
Awesome.
then they bred for a month basically, and then I took them out a couple times to feed and put them back in like a couple days later. And the fourth time I tried doing that, when I put him back in there, I was scared to go back in the cage and save my man to get him back out. Bro, that female was body rolling, tail whipping, just
Really?
literally thrashing around in her cage to where I thought someone was in my laundry room, like
Oh my
breaking
God.
stuff. I was so freaked out. I was like, I got to open this cage and grab my man's back out. And you could tell, like, he was scared. He didn't even move. He was just like, shit, don't
Wow.
tongue flick, don't nothing. So I was like, she's going through some kind of mood. And I've kind of just been leaving her be. She's been in and out of her nest
Okay.
box. And so I caught an ovulation, what I think is an ovulation, on November 14th. Her whole body from like the third half down to her cloaca was so freaking swollen and scale separation to the max. I sent it to
Yep.
one of my buddies. I was like, yo, does this kind of look like an ovulation to you? And he was like, holy hell, she's massive. And I was like, all
Yeah.
right, all right, just double checking. So don't know for sure, but everyone I've asked and everyone I've showed, they're like, bro, you got some stuff going on. So I'm just along for the ride at this point, taking my notes along the way. And it's just all learning experience for me still at this point. So learning every day.
That's awesome. That's great. That's awesome. And then a little bit more about the Barons, because are they technically rear fanged?
Yeah, they are definitely rear fanged. A
Okay.
few people that I know have had a couple of reactions. It's similar
Okay.
to people that have reactions to the hognose bites. You get the red, swelling, itchiness,
Yep.
joint pain, yada yada. Um, I w- I think unless you're allergic to like bees and have high allergies, that's when you're going to have the problems of like the anaphylactic shock where you have to worry
Yep.
about throat swelling. But other than that, they seem pretty chill. I've personally never been bit. The only aggressive one I have is that female that I
Okay.
was just talking about. But other than that, never been bit. They read the situation and they read the vibe. It's so crazy. They're so intelligent. That's why I said they got that monitor brain, because how you can kind of snap a monitor out of it if he's like freaked out, or if you have a
Right.
bond with it, you can kind of get it out of that food mode. The Barons are the same way. So I mean, you if you know what you're doing and you can read a snake's body language, you're not going to get bit.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's good to know. Especially like, as I could see a lot of these snakes that, we've been talking about on the show eventually become those snakes that are like, oh, a first time keeper could actually take care of these. I mean, and hognoses are, as I talked about last week, they're hot right now. So
Very.
I feel like that the education about that is important, but the likeliness of them actually biting is relatively low. So it's kind of like there's a give or take there.
Yeah. And it's people, I mean, yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to get bit. But if a Baron's racer just tags you or strikes at you as an anger defense, that's not you getting envenomated. It
Right.
it
That's also
actually
true.
has to wrap its whole mouth around you. I wouldn't say it has to chew, but it has to get its whole mouth wrapped around you for you
Okay.
to get an envenomation. So if you just get a tag or it's striking in defense at you and you get hit, don't panic. Don't immediately go, oh my God, I'm envenomated. It needs to get a good solid bite on you to get
Right.
envenomated. And usually people that have been bit that tell me, they're like, yeah, dude, they do the hog nose chomp where they sit there and you feel those rear fangs digging
Oh
into
yeah.
your hand. So yeah.
Gotcha. Um, cool. And then adults, what are they maxing out at on size? Because I don't think I've definitely never seen an adult in person, or so like what's that kind of looking like?
So my biggest female is just hitting 6 foot. They
Oh, okay.
get bigger than 7 foot. I've seen pictures of almost 8 foot females. They're not
Really?
massive around. I mean, their bodies are probably that big around or so,
Okay.
and that's the mid body. Other than that, they're just a long, slender. I mean, they're tree gliders, man. They move through arboreal areas so good, it's insane. They're built for the trees and the vines and everything for sure.
Right. No, that's impressive. I definitely didn't know they got that big. I honestly thought they stayed on the smaller end.
The males will stay around 4 or 5 feet, but the
Okay.
females get hefty big. And
Gotcha.
I've heard of people getting like high 20 count to like low to high 20 count egg clutches from those big females. So they put out some babies when they get that size.
Yeah, that's great. Um, Okay. And then diet. I always like talking about diet as I've been getting more interested in varying diet. What are you feeding, even small ones up to adult size?
Yeah, so when I was establishing the babies, I usually do every like 3 to 4 to sometime. I'm not like a super set schedule kind of person, so I'll
Yeah.
vary around. Plus, I'm all over the place with my own schedule. So when they're babies under a year, I usually aim their metabolism is ungodly quick. So 3 to 4 to 5 days, I would do a pinky, and then once they got up to about the 6 month range and started to get some size, I would dinkies every 5 days or so. And then once they could get that small mouse or whatever, that's when you kind of do a week to 10 days and back it
Right.
down a little bit. And then once they're big, I was breeding quail at one point. It just got to a point where it was overwhelming with the collection, my job, and having 300 plus head of bird all the time and running a hatchery and all this stuff in my garage. But I still have, thankfully, I filled my freezer before I quit. So I
Okay.
still have access to all the quail I need right now, but I'll feed quail as much as I can. For the smaller ones, I'll feed quail chunks. Like I'll chop the leg. You can chop them in half and then chop
Okay.
that in half. So you'll have like 2 little drumsticks. You can feed them. They tear that up.
Gotcha.
You can do chicken hearts, chicken livers. Um, Other than that, they really do like the birds and stuff. Any troubled feeders that I've had, I've always used gecko, like natural made gecko scent, as nasty as that sounds. Or if you have access to gecko skin, you could basically wrap a pinky like a little taco. Like if you get the pinky wet,
Okay.
that skin just goes to glue like
Yeah.
its body, and those barons go nuts for that. So that's a little trick if anyone's having trouble with picky feeders.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
once they get big, I usually feed them 7 to 10 days, and I'll vary it with a medium-sized meal because they're not big meal eaters. I don't go very much bigger than the thickest part of their body when they get a big meal. I'm much more a fan of feeding them multiple smaller meals, just easier on their body, easier for them to eat. And you notice it when you notice like them processing it better, and having better poops, better growth rate, and they're not just sitting around. Like they're staying active a lot 24/7.
Right. Okay. And then you had mentioned obviously at the beginning their kind of intelligence level. So I'm definitely interested about that because I feel like there's a lot of, kind of derpy, dumb snake species out there, and that's fine. Like they're just, they live, they eat, they poop, and that's about it. But you said you noticed that kind of behavior with the monitors. Um, what else have you seen from them that kind of gives you that inkling that they're, maybe a little bit more intelligent that they might be taken for?
Like right now, I have 4 barons staring at me right now from behind
Okay.
the computer. They watch you when you're in the room. You can go up to the glass. They'll stare you back in the eye, and you can watch their pupils lock onto your pupils. Like they are on a whole different level to me. They're super. Um, how would I say this? Hyperactive diurnal animal. I don't know.
Okay.
They're just in the light when they can see. They are tacked into every single movement in their surrounding. I mean, a leaf can drop in the corner of the room while you're over here and they're watching you, and then all of a sudden their attention's over there. They're extremely observant, and they know when to move and they know when to not move. You can tell they're super built to survive, as I guess you could say. They know what they need to do.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool because I know a lot of people talk about, um, like indigos, like Eastern indigos. That's a lot of people's like dream species, like super intelligent animals. Drymarching in general as a genus, they're just
Yeah.
all very intelligent animals. But it's cool to hear about another species that may, kind of touch that level and might be a little more obtainable because some areas we can't get
Yeah.
uh
We can't.
indigo snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in my opinion, I mean, you have a better color variation. If you're into colors, you can get 3 to 5 to 6 different color variations depending on who you know or what you can find. And I know dry marcon, they will go up into trees and stuff, but if you set up a visually appealing enclosure that is, I mean, I tell everyone that I talk to about these snakes, they're probably a 80-20 ratio between arboreal and terrestrial. They're not on the ground a lot. If you give them the option to be off the ground and give them the tree limbs and all the arboreal hides, they're going to use every inch of it all the time, and they're rarely going to go to the ground unless they have to. So they're a very appealing snake. If you were to put it in your living room and put it in an awesome enclosure, I think it would be a lot more appealing than a dry marcon or whatever. As much as I love dry marcon, I'm not hating on them at all, but
Yeah.
they're just super appealing and fun to watch, and they never stop. If the lights are on, they're out doing something. And then if you want to feed them, you could literally, I feed my Barons just like I feed my monitors, just to give them something to do, because they love the hunt. So they love, I mean, they love chasing food around. So it's just, and it's another thing to kind of give them something to stimulate their brains. So
cool. And then I kind of see, so to your right, there's some like tubs, and then I see enclosures on the other side. What do you keep your Barons in, like the bigger PVC enclosures, or are those your adults maybe? Or what are your kind of setups looking like for them? Are they all arboreal like you had just mentioned?
Yeah, so right now this room is kind of just a mix up of all different sizes of life. But yeah, these the ones to the right, those are the 80 quart lockers that you can get at like Walmart and stuff. I like to use those for raise up Barons and raise up Papuans, just because it gives them the arboreal option and it gives a good floor plan. Lightweight, easy to clean,
right?
Super versatile, easy to stack, obviously. So those are a big go-to for me.
Cool.
The raise up option, I keep everything arboreal. When they're babies, I keep them in medium to large critter keepers, whichever you can get. It was really hard for me to find a bulk amount of critter keepers when I needed them out of nowhere. So medium to large critter keepers work great for babies because you can set them up with an arboreal option. I'll have to take a picture of some stuff I did for my babies and the critter keepers, because everyone that did come over and see them thought they were stoked. They were pretty stoked on them. So I was like, all right, cool. This is a good idea to share. And other than that, the PVC enclosures, I have a couple of my adult Papuans, and then the white one that you can see in the corner is the adult female. The black one up top is my IMG yellow male. Yeah, adult male up there. That the black one's a 3 foot tall and the other one's a 2 foot tall. I prefer the 3 foot talls. I know they prefer it. I just kind of was using what I had to get this girl set up for nesting last year and get her ready. So
no, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I enjoy seeing, I don't like really subscribe to the whole like rack versus enclosure debate, because I think it's silly, and I think it depends on what you're keeping.
Yeah, you see my rack right there.
I see it. You have both. No, and my point was, I think it's cool for me, coming from as a rack user, to kind of see what other people are using as setups and to see those kind of things, because I think it's cool. And I think as I get into other species eventually, I'll probably have some decent enclosures, if not a kind of display animal, so to speak, depending what it is.
Yeah, I think the whole rack versus debate, man, people just have the wrong mindset about it, because excuse me, sorry. Me and a lot of my friends, like the CB70 tubs, they're super versatile.
Yep.
If you set them up right, you can set that up naturalistically. So you can have naturalistic CB70s and put a bunch of different style colubrids or young raise up pythons in those. These smaller 6 quart tubs, I just use those for my smaller babies, and then I go straight up to a 15 quart. That gives it a little bit more of an arboreal option. And then I also use I think they're a 25 quart tall. I'll use those for like yearlings as well, because it gives it a good arboreal option. But tubs have their purpose for what you're gonna, for younger animals. And if you have a species that is terrestrial, you could basically fill your tub 3/4 of the way up with substrate or different levels of rocks or whatever. So you're building a built up environment in there for it, and using the whole tub space rather than just putting paper towel, a cardboard tub, and a water bowl in there, because then it just has all this space to flop around. If you build it up in there, it could be going around in there, tunneling around. A good example is I used to have some of my king snakes in some top opening fish aquariums. I think there's 65 quarts or something. They're pretty
Okay.
big. I would fill them up 3/4 of the way with mixed up
Really?
substrate. And I would tell everyone, dude, you get an adult version of an ant farm. Those things would
Yeah.
tunnel all around that enclosure, and they would always bring tunnels all the way up to the glass. So you could see it tunneling through there, and you get to see its underground activity. And that was just the coolest thing to me. I actually have a video on my YouTube. It's a pretty older video, and it's a horrible video, but it shows an example of that where I have my Florida king snake and her whole enclosure is filled up basically to the brim, but she loves it.
And what are you using on like substrate wise in a setup like that?
On those, so I will use a lot of mix between either play sand, or I have a friend that has river property, and it's basically just like untouched, perfect river sand and mixed with soil and leaf litter. So I go get a lot of my soil, leaf litter, and sand from there for a lot of my stuff. But I'll also use the play sand from like Lowe's and Home Depot, and I'll mix that with Eco Earth and the cocoa husk and leaf litter.
Gotcha.
And that's just, it ends up making a perfect hard but loose mixture for them to tunnel in and keep humidity and everything. So that's a go-to.
Okay. Cool. I definitely want to get into some of the other species you keep. Would you mind taking out a Barron's Racer for the people to see?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let me find my hook really quick. Good Lord. Oh.
And chat, like I said, if you guys have any questions for Sky, just drop them in there. I'm keeping an eye out on it. And yeah, we'll ask.
Sorry, he's so fast. He kept freaking hooking himself back into his cork tube every time I grabbed him. So this is one of the yellow ones that I have.
Okay.
And he's got a lot of black in him, so he almost, I don't know what'll be easiest to see, but in between each scale, he's got a lot of black coming in, and a pigment in between, like his skin is black with the black coming in on each scale. So he's got like a really cool smoky effect going on. Bright white, almost yellow belly.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's a really pretty animal. And I do see all the black kind of coming through. And I could see where you're saying the yellow. I could see it's kind of like a brighter-ish, a lighter green as opposed to the deeper green color.
Which this dude, when he was younger, I was hoping he was going to keep he didn't have as much black. He's slowly been getting more black. And I was really hoping he wouldn't get much black because of how bright yellow he was. But hey, I'll take him however I can get him. He's a pretty dude.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And really how slender they stay, because that's they stay small.
He's probably coming up on 4 foot almost. He's at least 3.5 foot for sure.
Yeah. No, it definitely looks long.
Yeah. Long and slender. And I feed him small mice once every 7 to 10 days or so.
Very cool.
They normally have like a 1 minute period or so when you get him out of the cage where they're kind of flighty, but now he's starting to get into the stage where you can just chill with him.
I always forget I have the solo feature. So yeah, if you guys want to see it a little bit better, there you go. And then also Morph Valley Reptiles, Ryan was asking if you keep any sort of buttermilk racers or speckled racers.
Those I've always been a really big fan of both. I had an opportunity to get some speckled racers last year, and I just passed up on it because of the point of life I was at. It was just way too hectic, and definitely wants them in the future. I think they're absolutely beautiful. Buttermilks are awesome. I would also keep those, but I would probably keep speckled racers first, honestly. I want the more turquoise rainbow locality, though, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, man. This one, you guys won't be able to see it, but if you end up going and look on the Instagram, he has like right on the side stripe, he has a light teal stripe above it. I doubt the camera pixelation is going to pick it up, but
It's a little hard to see, but yeah.
If you end up checking out the Instagram, you could see it pretty good. He's one of my favorites for sure.
And guys, I have Sky's Instagram linked in the description, so if you want to go over there, go click it and go check it out. Go check out his profile. So yeah. All right, awesome, man. If you want to put him back, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. And now in terms of other species, because we talked about it, you showed off a picture of a nice big Vietnamese blue beauty. So you have a pair of those guys?
Yeah, I got to raise that female. She just turned 3 years old, I think. No, she just turned 2 years old, and she's about 4 foot long. And then my male's, I don't know his age, but he's 9 foot long. He's a freaking he's a unit.
Yeah. Do they have attitudes like the typical VBB?
Yeah, so the female, she was awesome the first year. I could like go in, pick her up, zero attitude. And then like it seemed like right when she hit OCC and started to lose like her baby yellows and really get all of her silvers and whites and blues came in dark, she turned into a royal B word. And it's as soon as you open the cage, she's just trying to tag me the whole time. Changing her water bowl sucks. Cleaning her poop sucks. I do need to get her into like a bigger 6 foot or 5 foot PVC enclosure just to give me some room away from her because she's long now. So she tags me from anywhere she's at in the enclosure she's in right now. So
oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah. But the big male, yeah, there's he's really testy when you get him out of his enclosure. So I usually try to just let him come out on his own if I'm gonna bring him out or plan to have him out, because it always turns into a battle. And then once you get him out, he tends to be chilled 7 times out of 10. But regardless if he's chill or not, you can't get away from him. His strike zone is way bigger than anyone else's reach. So you get bit regardless whenever he wants to bite.
Okay.
It's like it's his decision. If he wants to bite you, you're getting bit.
Right. Okay. And then, so what else? Because I know you had mentioned your Colubrid collection was kind of dwindling. You've made room for other projects. Just in general, but like as you got into it, what other species were kind of that thing for you that you felt you had to have in your collection, or maybe it's something you moved on from, but what else have you kept or do you keep?
So I've always loved king snakes just because that's been a nostalgia animal for me from California. So I have one lone California king snake, and then I have a Florida king snake female that I bred in 2021. Oh no, in 2022. And so I got 2 clutches out of her. She double clutched. I've since moved those babies on and gave some to some friends and everything, and just it wasn't the thing for me. It was cool, but it wasn't, they're not breeding king snakes isn't a thing for me. So I moved those on. I still have the adult female just because she's awesome and beautiful and she's a sweetheart. So kept her. And then I always loved rat snakes. I've had yellow rats and corn snakes and everything, and just always enjoyed those. So that's why I've always kept the VBBs around, because they tick that rat snake, but also just huge, impressive Asian Colubrid box for me. And I love the color. And for me, with the VBB, you get 5 patterns with that snake. So you're almost getting 5 different snakes in one snake. So they just really tick a lot of boxes for sure.
Cool.
But other than that, honestly, my collection's dwindled down because I've been trying to make so much space for the Varanids, and I just got a lot. I need a lot of room for them, and I have big plans for them. And with the collection of Baronii that I have that I plan on breeding, I'm going to need as much space as I possibly can have for babies and raise ups for these projects that I want to learn as much as I can further, because I'm not just going to be having clutches and selling all of them. I'm going to be having clutches and raising and holding all the babies back
Yep.
so I can see what they do and see which ones are going to further the project. So it's going to take a lot of space. And once I realize that, I realize, okay, need to get everything out of the way that is all fluff, because we got no room for fluff right now.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's definitely important, and I'm glad you have the courage. And I think it's necessary for a lot of people to kind of say, like, hey, I need to draw this line in my collection. Like, I shouldn't be adding this, or I need to make room and really focus on what I really want to work on. I guess it depends on what your kind of goals with the hobby are, but it seems to me like you are very passion oriented and just keeping what you really enjoy keeping, which is why I wanted to get into the monitors, because I talk about other species on here because it's cool, and I see everyone likes keeping different stuff. What got you into those? Because monitors are like, little dinosaur puppy dogs, and definitely a lot of work from what I can see from you and other people. Can you talk about those a little bit? What species you're keeping?
Most definitely. Before I do that, I got a Papuan carpet that's literally trying to come out of the cage right now. I don't know if you want me
Go
to
ahead.
let her out,
Go ahead.
just so there's another
Yeah.
snake to come out. Let me see. She's literally just like at the door right now watching me, so probably just let her crawl right out onto me at this point. But she looks like she's just gonna make her way out, so I'll let her do her thing. I keep mainly peach throat monitors because I've been a dinosaur kid since I was like 3 or 4 years old. My grandpa fed the addiction way too hard.
Okay.
When I was younger, I would get dropped off my grandparents, and every time I get picked up by my mom, I'd have another dinosaur toy or a snake toy or something. So the collection of dinosaurs and the obsession has been thick. And once I realized that monitors were obtainable and learned more about them and found out about the Indicus complex, their body tone and their color variation and patterns and their look remind me so much of a raptor that we've seen in movies and hear about and everything. So I was immediately drawn to that clade of monitors. And once I found out about peach throats, it was just like it sucked me in more than any
Okay.
species I've ever loved, just between the color, the pattern, the look. And I started working with them, and they're not easy at all. They're probably one of the harder species to work with, just because of how much time and dedication they take, and respect and patience, and figuring out how to read their body language and react to it in the right ways. So that's been the biggest and most fun for me in the hobby, because it is a never ending battle. And every day I go into my room, it's like going to school or whatever, because you're going to learn something new about your lizards, or
Right.
it's just a fun experience. It's not going to be the same as yesterday. It's something new. You're going to be doing something new, or you're going to be gaining ground or losing ground that you got to regain with a lizard. So it's like, it's a never ending battle, and it's got me hooked more than anything else in the hobby for sure. I also just acquired a yellow tree monitor from Brian Sussin, and that was a huge dream species for me. And once I made that happen, that sparked another fire to where I'm like, okay, I need more room for tree monitors. So
Yeah.
tree monitors and the peach throats will definitely be my staples for monitor lizards for sure.
Okay. Awesome. And with the peach throats, I'm a little more unfamiliar with. Like, I know the tree monitors, they don't get like super huge, and they're arboreal. What are the peach throats like in terms of size and kind of temperament and things like that?
So the adults, the males are tend to get bigger. obviously in captivity, how you feed it and how you raise it is going to vary in its size.
Right.
My biggest female is 4 foot long, maybe a little bit over 4 foot long. Um, their temperament, once they gain your trust and like you get a bond with them, they're puppy dogs. I mean, they're just like
Yeah.
any cool Asian water monitor. I mean, I open my cage with my big female and I can scratch her on her chin and scratch her head, and she crawls right out onto me with no food. And we're chilling. I don't ever have to worry about her biting me or anything unless I
Yeah.
push her to the point or push any of her buttons that make her want to bite me. But honestly, it's hold on. Hit me with the question again. I told you this kind of brain farted.
No, I was asking about kind of like max size and like temperament and stuff like that. Just
Okay, yeah.
how
So
they
yeah,
are
they're pretty
on the
chill.
deep
But when they're
throats.
babies, they're chill once you gain the bond with them. But when they're babies, they're super flighty. You kind of just
Okay.
got to hit their boxes of what they need, husbandry wise and environmentally
Yep.
wise. And once you get that and figure out what to do and what not to do to spook them, you basically just start gaining the trust with them day to day, week to week. And then eventually you gain that bond, and then they get a little bit bigger. And as they gain size, they gain confidence, and they'll start wanting to come out and test their boundaries. And that's the cool thing is right now I have a bunch of different age variations. So I'm at like, once I
Okay.
learn a certain stage, I go back and use it for the stage that's coming up.
Right.
And I'm making more and more ground with each level and each set of babies that I've raised up. So it's so freaking awesome to see what I've been able to learn and apply it and tell other people and see them have success. That has been one of the coolest things for me. Is I came into peach throats not knowing a damn thing about peach throats. No one really wants to give any information because there's not much out there, and the people that do
Okay.
know, they're not really like, hey, here's all the information you can have. And the couple people that have out there, Mike Stefani and another guy Andrew,
Right.
they're awesome. They've hooked me up with all kinds of information. But other than that, it's all been a day-to-day learning experience through my collection and my keeping, and looking up different habitat specs and things and
Okay.
applying them to my keeping and seeing the changes and what's negative and positive and going from there. So like I said, it's the
Gotcha.
never ending battle of come in and what's working and what's not working and going from
Yeah. No, and I give monitor keepers a lot of credit. I don't think it's something I'd ever get into because one, the time dedication is a huge factor. I mean, as we keep saying, they are dinosaur dogs, like essentially. I mean, they're big lizards. They need to learn to socialize. They have big appetites. You need to be feeding them all the time. They require a lot of time. And then besides that, the socialization aspect of them, I always think is super cool seeing stuff like even, whatever you may think of them, because I know some controversial stuff like Nerd.
there.
Seeing Kevin McCurley like interact with some of those monitor babies is freaking fantastic. I mean, just watching him, and he'll have like 3 on his arm, like coming up, and he's just feeding all them or whatever. Like, I mean, that's just the most impressive thing because you have like your own little like velociraptors on your arm.
Basically, man, there's no other way to explain it. When you have a giant full grown monitor face to
Yeah.
face with you, it's intimidating, awesome, scary. It's or
I was gonna say
adrenaline
it's
rush.
a little scary too because they can mess you up.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Any monitor species can.
My females made me nervous a couple times where because I'll kind of just go through the room and be feeding them, and they all love to run out on my shoulder or run. They'll usually do their thing. Well, they'll run on my body, and then go back in their cage or do whatever. And they obviously can smell each other, so I held her last, and she was smelling all the food that the other monitors had just ran all over my shoulders. And dude, she was like right at my ears, sniffing and nipping around, and started nipping my back through my shirt. And I'm like, all right, this is getting pretty freaking hairy right here. Like I could lose an ear at any
Yeah.
second, and it's not
Oh
even a
shoot.
joke. All it takes is one bite and one pull, and your ear's gone.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. And that's the other thing is like I don't know if I'd ever, there are some keepers who keep some certain animals, and I'm just like, I don't think I'm that guy to take that risk. But I know some people can handle it, but like even the risk of a monitor biting or anything like that, I'm just like, I don't know if I could do that.
Like
That's not for me. But you're that guy. You're doing it and living it. So
my 1-year-old, or my male, when he was 1 years old, which he wasn't very big, he was probably 18 to 22 inches. He was out on me and we were socializing, and he just was getting to the point of irritation, and I was trying to get him back to his enclosure, and he's running all over my body. So I kept grabbing him. And next thing I know, he bites on my finger and just does one little head twist. Well, he literally shredded me to my bone on my finger, and they have a venom in their saliva to where all the joints in my finger where it cut up into my hand were sore for like 3 days. That cut bled for a full 24 hours, like profusely bleeding. Like, I mean, I was changing out just duct tape towel around my finger because it was bleeding so bad. So they're seriously no joke. If a little juvenile baby can do that to you, an adult will absolutely shred you like a cheese grater with zero effort. And I tell people all the time, it's a crazy sensation when that adult crawls on my head sometimes. Her claws will puncture my scalp, and as she's trying to either pull herself or move her body, I can feel my fucking scalp pull away from my skull. Like, it's the craziest. Like, they're weapons, and they're not to be joked with. Like, they're serious weapons, dude. But if you can build a bond with them and build trust with them, they'll be your puppy dog, basically.
yeah. No, that's awesome. And it's great that you're keeping those. Part of what I always like asking people as we kind of begin to wrap up, just about like diversification in general, what other maybe kind of plans do you see? Well, I know you kind of said you've been like downsizing the collection and focusing on species. So what is the future of Hella Scales looking like? Like, are you just really gonna go focus oriented, or maybe expand to something else that you may see out there? What's that looking like?
So the plan is definitely to just hone in on the giant bear and eye project, because that's going to be a unreal mission in its own. And running the 5 to 6 different lines and figuring those out is going to be decades of work that I'll be able to get lost in itself. And then I have people that have been following the page, I have like a stock of 20 something Papuan carpets to play with. So my lineage and line possibilities for Papuan carpets is basically endless. So I really just kind of want to be known as the guy who took Papuans and Barons and to a different level. Like, I know everyone's done some serious work with these snakes already, but everyone that's done work with them has also been people that has a bunch of other projects going on within like carpets or within other colubrids, for bear and eye speak.
Yeah.
So I won't have any of that. I will literally be focused on only Papuans and only Papuan lineage and line and morphs and color patterns and whatnot, and then only bear and eye. So I think that'll help me learn a lot more and help me get a lot further than anyone else has gotten. And that's kind of just, I'm not really I like to live through other people. So my friends have a lot of stuff. I know a ton of people with cool stuff. So I get to live vicariously through them while there's not a day right now that I've slimmed down my collection where I come into my rooms and I'm not totally stoked. And that's what I heard the older guys talk about in the podcast when I first started getting deep into the hobby, was that's what they feel now, that they've slimmed down and they got what they're passionate about. So I want to stick with where I'm at right now because I'm pretty stoked with what I got. And every time I think about, I should sell some animals, I try to make a list, or I try to think of what I would part with. And I'm to the point now where I don't want to part with anything. And I just want to expand with what I got. And I have more than enough lizards to fill a whole library once they start breeding. So I'm going to be hands on deck with every single baby I got with all these projects. So it's just you're basically seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. And from here on out, it's just going to just be going balls to the wall basically with all three of those species.
Yeah. And I think your mindset is important to see in today's kind of community, because I've been very harsh on this stance, and I'll say it again. The people who got in within the last few years, who saw a money grab in the reptile industry or whatever, if those people are selling out completely and not keeping a single reptile, I don't think they were passionate about it in the first place.
No.
Like 100% not. If I had to sell everything tomorrow, not everything's going.
I mean, I'm kind of in a position right now where I do need to sell a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
I can't sell my collection. I can't even bring myself to do it. It's too much, way too much of a part of me.
I couldn't either. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to sell a lot of other assets before I let go of my collection. So these are my happiness and my driving force in life at this point. So I got a lot to do with this mission at this point.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. And then also, I was curious about, do you vend shows at all? I know we talked about it beforehand. Like you were at Daytona at Billy's table, but have you vended much otherwise?
So I haven't personally vended at all, and Billy had hit me up saying he needed some help and everything, and I was already going to Daytona and getting a VIP.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, I'd love to do it. And that was just an awesome experience. So I'll probably end up being a help for him when he does the bigger local shows around us and stuff. But I may vend in the future. I honestly like going to the shows and enjoying the shows. It was fun doing Daytona, but at the same time, it was a little bit stressful, and I didn't get to do or see as many people as I wanted to see and stuff. So I think it's cool, but I was never in this hobby to be a breeder or make a shit ton of money off the animals. So that's never like my first thought. I'm always really just, I get stoked off the behavior and excelling in what I can do with each animal's enclosure or something new to spark something new with the animal. So the breeding's sick as hell. I love seeing the natural habits go down and everything, but it's kind of just a back burner thing. And I want to keep the projects with people that I know and that I know are going to progress it in the same ways. So I kind of built some friends and a tight-knit tribe in the community, and I kind of want to just stick with my peeps and anyone that wants to come in and do the same thing we're doing and progress in the same way and learn the same stuff and to progress together is what I'm all about for sure. But shows are sick. I love it as the way to get out there and get your name out there and meet new people. But yeah, definitely not a main priority for me for sure.
No, I totally understand. I only ask because it's a common thing, we do or some people do as like serious reptile breeders, getting out there, getting their name out there also. But I also appreciate your stance because, I think there's a couple different ways to look at it. When you're doing it for purely fun, like, yeah, maybe vending's not that thing for you. And then also, some vendors I even see it at shows, like they just don't have amazing social skills with the general public. Like they could hold a snake conversation and they could talk to other snake people, but like they're not great. So I think So I think people that are vending, like there has to be a balance of like education, because that's always what I'm about too. Like you have to be an educator and you have to be like half a salesman, even though I don't like associating sales super highly with reptiles, but like it is what it is. It's part of the hobby. And
you at least got to be able to, put your passion into words or put your excitement out there so people can see why you're doing or what you're doing it for, and not just a flipper or,
exactly.
That's how, like you're saying, that's how a lot of it comes off, because no one knows how to sell their passion or sell themselves really. They just, hey, this is my snake, I bred it, this is what it looks like, here's the parents, I'll give you a deal if you get two. And it's like no one, at that point no one really even cares.
And then just overall, what are your kind of thoughts on the reptile hobby in general, as we kind of see, right? I've been asking everyone this, but with the way the economy looks and, the the market of reptiles that, it's built on disposable income, and it's looking slow right now. And I don't know how much you see on other sides of the community, but again, I told you beforehand, like I do the ball python, so I'm seeing this recession that everyone's talking about, where some people just aren't selling their animals and are getting out as a whole. But what are you seeing from your end? What are your thoughts, and what's your kind of outlook on the future?
I think the hobby's in a decent spot. I mean, I think the people that got into it for the wrong reasons are the people why we're in a recession. Those are the people causing the recession, are the people that got into it for the wrong reasons, because the people that got into it for the right reasons are buying up all those collections for sale. Because we might be in a recession, but people are still buying snakes that are passionate about the projects and passionate
Yeah.
about carrying it on. So I definitely think it's everyone that got lured in for the money grab and the pyramid scheme of, ball pythons, even though people hate to admit that that's what it is, but that's what it is. I mean, you don't go to a show and see 60 tables with the same thing on it unless it was a pyramid scheme. So I think people just need to they need to listen to the elder people in the hobby and keep for the right reasons, and you would see more sales out of what you were keeping, because you wouldn't be trying to sell something that the guy next to you selling. You'd be selling your passion. And
Yeah.
people buy passion, and they buy good energy. That's what they want to be. They want to be a part of someone that has good energy and passion. They don't want to be a part of another run of the mill, pack of Skittles that the same guy's selling right next to you. And I think that's what a lot of it comes down to. And I think building the name for yourself. Everyone just, hey, I got 20 grand. Let me go buy all these ball pythons. I'll make 100 grand. Well, buddy, no one knows who you are. And Joe Schmo, who's been doing this for 6 years, he's got the same pythons for half the price. So that's the reason why you're not getting your sales. And I think that's what it all comes down to. It's all the bigger people and all the people that are doing it for the right reason and showing the passion and showing the dedication. You haven't heard them complain. You've heard them saying the same things, and that's, you were in it for the wrong reason, or you're not promoting yourself right. So I think that's what it all comes down to, is just focus on you, focus on your passion and what makes you happy and what makes you want to come into your reptile room. And once you start sharing that and people see how sick it is, they're going to want to be doing the same thing you are and enjoy the sickness you're enjoying. And that's when you make your sale. So that's basically how it's worked out for on my end. So I think going forward, if people just keep for the right reasons and try to progress your keeping and not stay in the box that we've been, kept in, and just try new things and don't be afraid to try new things, then it can only go up. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Cool. My kind of last and final question, and then you can comment further if you'd like to, is really just, what would you say to someone potentially looking to get into Barons racers, or even, it's a Colubrid show, so any other Colubrid, but they're a carpet python keeper and they've never kept anything else before. What do you have to kind of say to them about getting into something brand new, like just diving right in?
So I love that question, because I always feel like everyone has the starter animal, and I think starter animals are a waste of an animal, because that animal is going to end up dying. Whether you believe it or not, it's either going to die at your hand because you're going to get bored with it, or you're not going to care about it because you're not stoked about it, or you're going to get rid of it, or it's going to go to a rescue, and who knows what happens to it at that point. So I think if you like something, you should do the research on it. If it's some crazy animal that you think is unobtainable, do the right research on it and save your money that whole time learning as much as you can, so that when you do get that animal, you're not numb and dumb to the scenario, and you know what to expect, and you know what scenarios you might have come in front of you and how to react to them. So I would definitely say, if you're going to get a Barons racer for your first pet, do it, but do your research on how you need to keep your enclosure. Listen to some people talk about how they feed their babies and how they grow them up, how we were just talking, and go on INAT and look at some of the areas they come from to get some ideas on how to set your stuff up, and go from there, because they're not a bad snake. They have they're flighty in their enclosure because that's their home. So they move fast in there. And once you get them out, they have a couple 30 to 1 minute period where you run them through your hands. They're fast moving. And then after that, it's just like holding the normal corn snake where they just chill in your hand. And I think they're a really awesome snake that more people should get into. And they just need the patience and the husbandry to give you a happy, workable snake. Because if they're not in the right suitable husbandry environment, they probably will be agitated and super flighty and super bitey, because I can see that happening. They're a very interactive moving snake. So if you give them that option, they're a great snake to have. And carpet pythons are one of the hardiest snakes out there, and they come in every color pattern you can think of. You can get a different size range, from the Papuans, which are my favorite, which stay the smallest, to the Brettles or that get bigger, like 7 to 8 feet, and coastals that'll get 8 to 10 feet. So there's a range for everything, and just I think they're awesome. You can't go wrong with carpets or barons.
Cool. All right, man. Well, do you have any kind of final thoughts you want to put out there to the people? Anything I kind of forgot to touch on?
Shoot, I don't know, man. I would definitely just say, feed your passion. Don't do stuff that you think is cool because other people are doing it, or don't get something because you think it's going to make you cool. And actually, I do have a good message. I learned this year, and I told it to my buddy after it happened, and he thought it was pretty cool that I said it. So I'll say it here. And when you first get a snake, or you first get a project, and you're riding on the high of breeding it, you have all these crazy high expectations that when it happens, and when you do have these babies, at least it was in my mind, like, you enter this breeders club, you made it, you've entered this echelon. Like, oh shit, now I'm a part of the club. Send me my t-shirt in the mail. Where's my poster card? Where's my little wallet tag? None of that happens. When you breed a snake, you just created however many babies came out. That's that many more lives you have to care for. That's that many more problems you have to worry about. That's that many more mouths you have to feed. You just added that much more responsibility, and that it all kind of came to fruition. It was like, all right, I made it happen. It was awesome. Nothing changed. I got a couple people that said congratulations, but now I have this many more snakes to feed, this many more problems. So I think people just take that for granted. They think it's all this huge money grab game. You're going to get all this popularity. People are going to be knocking down your door for snakes. And they get overwhelmed. They breed all these babies. They start selling them for cheap and get out of it, like you're saying. And it all just becomes for the wrong reason. So I think realize that what you're doing, you're creating lives. So unless you can care for those lives, you probably shouldn't create them. And do everything you're doing with a purpose, put a reason behind it, make sure you can kind of back it up with some facts. And, I think just carry yourself in a manner that isn't going to promote negative effects on the hobby, or killing animals by selling them for too cheap, or just to get rid of them. So that was a big lesson for me this year.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I definitely appreciate it. That's a great message. Okay, cool. So, hey, man, we had between 13 to 17 people about the entire show. Any other final thoughts you have to give to the people? Otherwise, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, episode 4, you're one of the first guests, and still kind of breaking in the newness of this podcast. So I very much appreciate it.
No, yeah, dude, for sure. I was stoked. Yeah, when Billy told me, I was like, yeah, man, I'm always down to talk snakes, and always down to talk more about barons. And everyone that did tune in, I really appreciate you guys. Everyone that follows the Instagram and shows the support and love and messages me, you guys are all awesome. I try to hit everyone back, and I always try to stay positive and share any information you guys ask for. If anyone has questions, always hit me up. Let me know if you guys want to see more YouTube videos on anything specific. I get burnt out with trying to come up with ideas for myself. So if you guys got any ideas, let me know. I'd love to share anything I can, because I'm always looking for information, and sometimes when you can't find it, it gets really annoying. So if I can be on the other end of that, it'd be awesome. Other than that, like I said, thanks everyone for all your support, and hey, let's just keep caring for our reptiles and do our best, man.
Hell yeah, man. Everyone, like I said, the link to Sky's Instagram, again, at Hell the Scales on Instagram, is down in the description. So go click on that if you want to hit him with a follow. Yeah, it's right there under the small brief description. Go give him a follow, send him a message if you want to learn anything. But otherwise, once again, Sky, thank you very much. Episode 4, Sky Williams, Colubrid Corruption guest, Hail the Scales. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to throw you. Yeah, thank you so much. I will throw you backstage and we'll talk after I end the show.
All right, brother.
All right. Guys, that was an awesome episode. I really enjoy learning about, kind of new species that I don't really know about. Barons are definitely something that I've seen them before over the last couple of years, but I genuinely did not know much about. I don't think I barely knew that they were from South America. So it's always interesting to learn about different stuff that you've never seen before. And that was the whole reason for this show. So I hope you guys are getting out of it what I'm even getting out of it as the host. I'm learning a whole lot so far about all these species. Once again, thank you so much to everyone who popped out tonight and tuned into the show. As always, I very much appreciate it. Like I said, all my social medias are down here. Go check us out everywhere. Like I had mentioned at the beginning, we will be vending the Orlando Repticon next week at For Real 3D's table, also with Clover's Reptiles, who was my guest last week. Again, like and comment on this episode, and make sure you're subscribed to check out all the future episodes. And other than that, thank you guys so much. This has been the Colubrid Corruption Podcast, episode 4 with Sky Williams from Hail the Scales. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing night and the rest of your weekend. I will catch you guys next week. Peace out.